Welcome to the 3 a.m. tapes. Glad you made it through the day. Now try to enjoy the night. Sleep if you can. Chapter 1. The Creaks Above. The first time I heard it, I dismissed it as the house settling. That's what people say, isn't it? Old houses creak. Except mine isn't old. I bought this place just 6 months ago. Modern build, quiet neighborhood, freshly renovated. Nothing should creak. But that night, as I sat alone in the living room, half watching a rerun on TV, I heard it again. A long, deliberate shift of weight from somewhere above me. The attic. I muted the television. Silence stretched thin across the room like plastic wrap. Then again, creak. Then a soft scrape, as if someone was dragging their foot across plywood. I stared at the ceiling until my eyes burned, waiting for another sound. Nothing. I told myself it was probably a bird or a possum. Maybe something got in through a vent. Still, I kept the hallway light on that night and slept with the door cracked open. The next morning, I climbed up to the attic with a flashlight. I rarely go up there, just insulation, some ducting, and a few boxes from the move I never bothered to unpack. Dust floated in the beam of my light. Nothing seemed out of place, but I did notice something odd. A faint odor, like stale sweat and something sour, human. That afternoon, I bought traps, big ones. I don't know what I expected to catch, but I placed them near the corners of the attic and under the rafters, just in case. The second night was worse. I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling. Around 2 a.m., I heard it again, this time softer, but unmistakable. Footsteps, slow, shuffling. I sat up in bed, heart slamming against my ribs like a wild animal. I waited, holding my breath, and then the creaking stopped. Nothing, just dead, thick silence. I told myself I was being ridiculous and forced myself to lie back down. But that's when I saw it. My attic entrance. The one in the hallway ceiling. The drop-down ladder. It was slightly ajar. Just a crack. Maybe an inch. Enough. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stared at it from my bed, frozen. I stayed like that until the sun came up. When it did, I jumped out of bed, grabbed a broom, and jabbed the attic door shut. At work, I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about the attic, about what might be up there. I even considered calling pest control, but what would I tell them? Hey, I think a human might be living in my attic? I got home just before dark. The house felt wrong. Still and too quiet. I walked room to room, flipping on lights, opening closets. Everything was in place, untouched. But when I checked the attic again, something had changed. One of the traps was gone. Not tripped, gone, vanished. And then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A small, folded piece of paper near the far wall. I hadn't seen it before. I picked it up with trembling fingers. It read, "Stop looking." That night, I didn't sleep. Chapter 2. The Smell of Breath. I didn't go to work the next day. I couldn't. I called in sick, locked every door, and sat on the couch gripping a baseball bat I found buried in the hall closet. My phone was fully charged.
900 hovered on the dial screen like a lifeline I wasn't quite brave enough to call. Because what was I going to say? Someone left me a note in my attic? That might earn me a wellness check, not a patrol car. The note still sat on my kitchen table. I kept staring at it, trying to convince myself that maybe it was old, or maybe a prank. But there was no one who had access to my house. I live alone. I don't even have guests.
The worst part? I didn't remember leaving the attic open. And yet, someone had been up there recently enough to leave a message. That night, I left every single light on in the house. I didn't go to bed. I just paced between rooms, listening, watching. I shut and locked the attic entrance with a metal hook I screwed into the ceiling. It made me feel marginally safer, but not for long. At 3:12 a.m., I was in the kitchen when I smelled it. It wasn't sudden. It crept up like fog. Sour, humid, almost human. Like sweat soaked into a shirt that had been worn for days. My skin crawled. I spun around, searching for its source. Then I realized it was coming from the vent air above the fridge, the one connected to the attic. I grabbed a chair, stood on it, and pressed my nose closer. The smell of breath. Not stale air. Breath. Exhaled breath. Warm. Moist. I staggered off the chair and backed away. My vision tunneled, heart galloping. I stood frozen, bat clenched in my hand, the sick realization blooming like mold in my mind. He was still there, watching me, breathing through the vent. I didn't sleep that night either. The next morning, I booked a hotel room under a fake name. I drove halfway across the city, not even packing a bag. I just left. But as I sat in that sterile room, TV flickering with muted news, I couldn't stop thinking about the house. My house. His house. I went back the next afternoon. I told myself it was to gather clothes, maybe check the attic in daylight. But the truth was, I couldn't shake it. A part of me needed to know, needed to see. I climbed the attic ladder again, bat in hand. The trap was still missing, the note, too. But something else had changed. The far corner of the attic, near the insulation, had a small cut in the floorboard. At first I thought it was a crack, but when I leaned closer, I realized it was a seam, almost invisible. My fingers found a tiny notch. It was a hatch, a false floor. My stomach twisted. I hesitated for a long time, then pried it open. Inside was a hollow space, maybe 3 feet deep. Not big enough to stand in, but big enough to hide. There were wrappers, crumpled water bottles, a toothbrush, and a blanket stained and crusted. And something else. A pair of eyes, drawn on the inside of the hatch with black marker. Large, unblinking, staring directly up. Below them, in small capital letters, I see you too. Chapter 3. Watching me sleep. I don't remember leaving the attic. I know I must have, aren't I? Sitting on my bed, lights blazing, phone in one hand, bat in the other. But it's all a blur. My memory's starting to break apart like glass under pressure. The hatch, the trash, the eyes. I didn't sleep again. Of course, I didn't. But I did something worse. I tried to convince myself that it was over, that whoever had been living up there, and there was no denying that now, was gone, evicted by the discovery. Maybe he ran off when I left for the hotel. Maybe the fear went both ways. But I was wrong. I know that now. Last night, I fell asleep. I didn't mean to. I hadn't slept in days, and exhaustion finally dragged me under, kicking and screaming into blackness. I passed out on the couch, still in my clothes, bat across my chest. When I woke up, the bat was gone, and my bedroom door was open. I always keep it shut, always, but it was wide open now, the darkness beyond like an open mouth. I sat up, head pounding, throat dry. Something in the room felt used, lived in, as if someone had been there, just moments ago, watching me, inches from my sleeping face. I checked every room in a silent panic. Nothing. But when I got to the kitchen, I saw it. The fridge was open. Not just cracked, wide open like someone had stood there, rummaging. And sitting on the counter was a single item I hadn't touched in weeks, a half-used jar of peanut butter. The lid was off. A long, uneven trail of fingerprints dug through the surface, scooped out with bare hands. My stomach flicked. I backed into the corner and stayed there for an hour, motionless, just listening. Every creak of the house, every hum of the fridge made my skin crawl. I knew I should call someone. Police, a friend, anyone. But the idea of explaining it, of hearing myself say the words out loud, terrified me more. I slept with a knife that night. Not the bat. The bat was still missing. At 4:08 a.m., I woke up to the sound of plastic creaking. Soft, almost rhythmic. Like something flexing or being crushed slowly. I held my breath. Then I heard it again, directly above me. Not in the attic, in the air duct. The same one I smelled him through. This time, it wasn't breath. It was movement. Slow, shifting, as if someone was lying in there, pressed against the metal walls, crawling. I couldn't move. My hands went numb, my vision blurred. I sat up, inch by inch, and looked at the vent. The grate was gone. Not fallen, not broken. Gone. And inside, not far back, was a face. Only visible for a moment, pale, thin, with sunken eyes that gleamed in the dark like wet stones. Then it pulled back, vanishing into the shadows. I screamed. I couldn't help it. I ran from the room, out the front door, barefoot and breathless into the night. I stayed in my car until dawn. When I finally got the courage to go back inside, the vent was closed. The grate screwed back into place, tight, neat, like nothing ever happened. But I know what I saw, and I think he wanted me to. Chapter 4. Things Missing. Things moved. I've stopped opening doors all the way. Now I just crack them, just enough to peek, just enough to see if anything's changed. I don't know why I bother. Things always change. At first it was small. My toothbrush was damp in the morning, even though I hadn't used it. A sock from the laundry vanished. I kept finding the toilet seat up, and I live alone. Then came the noises. No longer isolated to the attic, no longer limited to footsteps. Now, I hear breathing. Deep, steady, deliberate. Always from somewhere I'm not. A room I just left. A hallway I haven't entered yet. Sometimes I walk past a mirror and swear I see something. A shape, the faintest blur, not behind me, but beside me. Too close, far too close. 3 nights ago, I locked every single door from the inside. The front door, the back door, the attic latch, every window. I double-checked each one, but in the morning, I found my bedroom window open. The screen had been pushed out. There were smudges on the sill, greasy handprints dragging in both directions. In and out. He's not just watching anymore. He's exploring, testing, practicing. I started sleeping during the day and staying up all night. I feel safer in sunlight, even if I'm not. I put bells on the attic hatch, a baby monitor in the hallway. I even bought a motion sensor. But last night, it triggered at exactly 3:33 a.m., and when I checked the hallway camera, there was nothing. Just silence, an empty frame. Except for 2 seconds, the screen flickered briefly, and in that flicker, there was something crouched at the far end of the hall. A human shape, thin, bent, with knees up to its chest, its head tilted sideways in an unnatural way, like a dog trying to understand speech, watching the camera, watching me. I unplugged everything, all the devices, all the cameras. I don't care anymore. He wants me to see him. That's the game. This morning, I found something else. My phone. I always keep it charging next to my bed, but today it was sitting in the kitchen, screen down. I never leave it there. I don't even remember taking it with me. The gallery was open, the camera app, and there were new photos. 4 of them, each one taken in the dark. Grainy, unclear, but they show my room. Me, sleeping. From the corner, from inside the closet, from the foot of my bed. The last one, the 4th photo, is different. It's taken up close, right beside my face. I'm asleep, mouth slightly open. The timestamp says it was taken at 3:35 a.m. That's after the motion sensor went off, which means he was in my room, inches away, holding my phone. And I never woke up. I don't know how much longer I can stay here, but I know this. He doesn't just live in the attic anymore. He lives in the walls, in the vents, under the floorboards. And he is learning how to move without sound. Chapter 5. Hollow Walls. I've stopped trying to explain it to people. No one listens. I called the police once. Once. They came during the day, polite but tired-looking. I showed them the hatch in the attic, the filthy blanket, the scrawled messages, the wrappers and the water bottles, and the eyes drawn on the walls. They looked uncomfortable.
Probably squatters, they said. Just old evidence. No sign of forced entry. I asked about fingerprints. They said the surfaces were too dusty to lift anything clean. They left. That night, I found a new message, not in the attic this time, but beneath my pillow. A piece of torn notebook paper, damp with sweat. Don't go to them again. And underneath, in smaller handwriting, I'll know. I tore the house apart that night. I knocked on walls, opened every vent. I even broke a hole into the drywall between the hall and bathroom. Inside was a void, a crawl space maybe 1.5 feet wide, not wide enough for most people. But he isn't most people. I saw things in that wall space. A sleeping bag, a cracked phone, half a sandwich, socks, a child's toy, a wooden spinning top, stained, handmade. And I swear to you, I heard something, breathing just beyond the flashlight's edge, not far off, not in a different room, inches away, hidden by the curve of the wall. When I called out, the breathing stopped. When I said, "Please leave," it laughed. A soft, breathy giggle. Not loud, not human. I dropped the flashlight. I ran. I'm not ashamed to admit I slept in my car that night, engine off, knife on my lap. The house loomed behind the windshield, dark and full of unseen eyes. But it gets worse. Yesterday, I got a text from my own number. The message was short.
I miss our time together. Come home. There were no other messages. I turned off the phone, snapped the SIM card, threw the whole thing in a storm drain. But even now, sitting in a hotel, miles away, lights on, new number, no one knows where I am, I still feel it. The watching, not from the windows, from the walls, from behind the headboard, from inside. You think it's over? That leaving fixed it? That's the trick. He doesn't care about the house. He's not attached to the attic or the vents or the crawl spaces. He's attached to me. He knows how to follow without being seen, how to sleep during the day, how to hide behind drywall, to move in crawl spaces and ductwork and silence. He knows my breathing patterns, my rhythms, my scent. He'll wait. I'll get tired. I always do. And then one night I'll wake up, and I won't be alone. He'll be there, smiling, because he never left. And neither will I.